Hello, welcome to the Two Chicks Homestead Podcast. We are the Two Chicks. Yay!
Hi, I'm Nate.
And I'm Erin, and we talk about homesteading and living on a small piece of land.
All right, everyone, welcome to episode 32. So this week, we are going to have a fun little interview with Carlos, Kilo Delta 9, Oscar Lima, November, from LifeAtTerminalVelocity.
That's what they tell me anyhow.
So, Carlos, why don't you introduce yourself and kind of tell everybody who you are?
Oh, God. I don't know how to go with this. I'm Carlos Felix Ortiz. I'm an amateur radio operator. I'm a pseudo homesteader, and meaning we have a really big garden and we do a lot of canning and preserving. I like guns and rock and roll. What else is there to say?
There you go.
I jump out of airplanes.
That's the best part. Like, that is the coolest thing. Out of all things, you jumping out of airplanes is probably the coolest thing you do.
I don't know if that's the coolest thing, but hey, I'll take it all day long. It's,
but you got to tell people what you do when you jump out of airplanes.
I find myself at times bringing my radio. And when I say radio, I mean my ham radio, sometimes 2 meters and sometimes HF. And I call CQ. And I try to rattle some cages and make people go, "You're doing what?" Yes. I'm flying a parachute. I have a radio. CQ Parachute Mobile. Find me. Work me.
Absolutely.
Most of the time I don't have to worry about, making contacts. Most of the time the contacts pretty much are there.
Yep.
I made a jump yesterday that was a slog, man. It was difficult to make a contact. I think I might have had 5 or 6 contacts in 14,000 feet of jumping.
Yep. Well, I know 2 of us were.
Yes.
I know I was able to get through, and our friend Cliff was able to get through.
Yes.
So that was nice to get you on 40, because that was a band I had never gotten you on before.
Well, you're going to get another card to add to the board.
Exactly. I love hanging those
We checked
up.
the mail. Yay, another postcard from Carlos.
So we've gotten you on 2 meters, 10 meters, 20 meters, and 20 meters was under my old call sign.
Yes, and then under your new call sign as well, right?
And I've not gotten you on 20 meters on my new call sign yet.
I thought you got me on the new
I'd have to go look at the cards. Maybe not.
I don't know.
But either way, I just got you on 40 last night.
Yeah.
And it was nice hearing you all the way down, because, I felt bad because we were trying really hard to get the guy for Parks on the Air that parked 1 kilohertz up from where you were planning on going, but...
Well, the thing is, we don't own the band, right? We don't own the frequency, and people are okay to do what they're wanting to do.
Yep.
I really would have hoped that he would have said, let's switch it up to that frequency.
Yeah.
Drive the pile up in the air, and then drive the pile up at Parks on the Air, because that would be really a cool integration. I'm still hoping to make a Parks on the Air jump this year. I was actually talking to the owner of the drop zone today about it, and he was like, it's been busy and this, that, and the weather, and I'm like, I don't need excuses, Doug. Yep. Let's just work on a date where I can jump into Shabana.
That would be fun.
And just activate the park, parachute mobile.
Mm-hmm.
Because what do you need, 10 contacts to activate?
I think I can manage 10.
You can guarantee you'll get me at least, and I'm sure I could probably get 10 people in this area to catch you on the way down, probably on 2 meters.
I gotta tell you, I have the local repeater on my car radio.
Yeah,
I don't have it on my HT.
Okay.
And I was trying I'm in the airplane, like I'm just gonna dial in the repeater and let them know that I'm jumping, and I'm like, I don't have it on my HT. I don't even know what the frequency is. I'm out of cell phone reach, so I can't look it up on repeater book. And it was like, well, I called CQ on 5.2. I know that someone was replying while I was inside of the airplane, because I was like, well, I have the radio out. I may as well call Aeronautical Mobile. Let's work from $3,000 all the way to like $10,000, and then, I could not hear a soul. I could hear that they were keying up. I was getting full scale on it.
Okay.
Could not hear a human.
So that was Cliff and I were chit-chatting back and forth as you were going up, and we were watching ADSB on your plane. So that's probably what you were hearing, was just him and I going...
On 5.2?
No, not on 5.2.
So this was on 5.2, right?
Oh,
so this is 14652. I am sure that someone went, aeronautical mode, well, this is pretty, yes, I want to get this contact. And I'm telling you, I had a headset.
Wow.
I brought the headset, and I could hear the static when nothing was in the air, static. They would key up, I would get absolutely nothing. I'm like, I don't know if it's you or if it's me, and I really still do this. I don't know whether it was them or me.
Yeah.
Because I haven't tested that HT on the ground yet, again. But, yeah. It was like, well, I can't race the repeater. I'm going to race someone on 5.2, and hopefully they'll find out that I'm on 40, and I'll make a few contacts on 40. Man, that jump was difficult.
It was fun, though, because I heard... So you got around here, so within 30 or 40 miles. Then you got Minnesota.
Got Minnesota.
Tennessee, I think.
Tennessee, New York, right?
Yeah, okay, yeah. I heard the New York call.
I think I got a New York station there. I'd have to listen to the recording to be able to tell you exactly what I got, because I haven't logged yet.
Right.
I'll log when I edit the video.
Right. So I mean that was that's quite a bit of distance, just being up in a plane working HF.
Well, I was on a parachute, so
right.
I'm streaming an antenna behind me, so there's all sorts of things that can go wrong, and I mean that in a technical way. I'm not talking about the possibility of me plummeting to my death. That's not. I'm not going to do that.
We're not going to talk about that.
Oh, we can talk about it, right? But the thing is, my number one priority is having a good parachute over my head, and until I do that, I'm not playing radio. So
right.
So by the time I'm playing radio, I know that I have a good parachute over my head. I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
What is an issue is all the technical stuff that can go wrong. A dial got changed on my radio while I was in the airplane.
Mm-hmm.
So friction, just moving around. The RIT knob on my radio got twisted, so I was transmitting like a half a kilohertz off, or half a megahertz off, and I'm sure that didn't make for a great contact with me. I'm sure that made it difficult for people to hear me. I'm sure they heard me, obviously, right? We made the contact.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it would have been better had I been centered on the frequency like I was later in the jump.
Right.
It's just that the minutia, the technical stuff. Radios with knobs are great because you can mess with them, right? You can get them dialed in. Radios without knobs are great for this kind of stuff because I can't mess them up in the airplane, right?
Exactly.
So I can be perfectly fine on the ground, and I had this part of my checklist. And when I couldn't raise the contact to save my butt, well, then I went and looked at the radio, scrutinized the radio. Is the squelch right? Is the RF gain right? Is the AF gain right? The RIT is completely panned over to the left. Let me get it panned over to center.
Yeah. All right, so let's go through like a step by step. So you jump in the plane. So let's go. You exit the plane, pull the chute. What steps do you go from there?
So, I throw the pilot chute out. The pilot chute is a small parachute that then in turn opens up the container and then extracts the bag that's holding the main parachute in and extracts the main parachute out of the bag. The main parachute inflates. Once I have an inflated parachute over my head, I give it a visual inspection. So, are my lines all okay? Is my parachute okay? Are there any tears, any holes? Basically, I'm visually inspecting to make sure that my wing is in good condition. Once I have that, then I open up the radio bag, and the first thing I do is I unwind the antenna wire. Yesterday I was flying KM4 ACK infrared half wave because I was flying 40. My patrons on Patreon selected 40 for the August jump. I couldn't make it because of weather. And I couldn't make it at Huntsville because I just ran out of time. Weather rolled in on us there. So I told them I'm going to make it up by making the first jump in September. So I did. 40 meters is difficult because there's a lot more wire. So it takes twice as long to deploy the wire. Excuse me. And I only have one 40-meter antenna that I can take in the air, and that's the KM4 ACK. Anyhow, antenna wire goes out. Coax goes out after that because I need to make sure that the coax is actually flying straight and not balled up in a rat's nest. because that will mess with the SWR. In an end-fed half wave, if you're not familiar, the coax acts as the counterpoise. And lo and behold, I look down on my S meter after that's all done, and I'm getting S9 and then some on noise, which is rare.
Yeah.
Like super rare. When I'm in the sky, I typically have an S0. I have an ideal situation for testing antennas, for testing radios, for playing radio. Not last night.
Right. Well, a lot of last night was the guy who was parked on 7.255.
Okay.
So you went on 7.254.
Yeah.
So the guy on 7.255 was calling parks. And a few of us tried to say, hey, do you mind holding off for 5-10 minutes? We got a guy going up in a plane right now, local to us, and he's going to jump. Why don't you try and make contact with him? And then, once he's on the ground, knock yourself out. Have a little bit of fun. So, but that was your S9 noise floor, right?
Oh, it was spicy, man. I've ran into a situation once before, and it was because the antenna that I was flying was having issues. I later figured out what the issue was: the operator headspace and timing. For those of you that don't know, that means the guy behind the mic. So I deployed my antenna properly, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong on that jump. And when I watched the video, I realized that I didn't deploy the coax properly. The coax, I just the coax goes out and it'll stretch itself out. It didn't. It was a rat's nest.
Yeah.
And that was giving me incredibly high SWR, which made it impossible for me to get out, and certainly impossible for people to hear me, or harder for people to hear me. Once I sorted that out, now I know that I need to be very clean about deploying my coax.
Yeah.
Never thought about it before, right?
Yeah, you wouldn't think
Live and
that'd be
learn.
a deal. So
Yeah. The other coax I use is RG316, and it's Teflon coated. So no matter what I do, that thing just always strings out.
yeah,
Short of tying a proper knot on it, that thing just strings out.
yeah, and that's real nice. That's real thin coax.
Yeah, it's thin coax. I don't have to worry about loss terribly. It's not a very long run.
Right. It's 10 feet behind you.
Yeah, it's 10 feet behind me. That's literally what it is. 10 feet. And the thing just pays out like
Right.
butter.
Yep.
So I need to be mindful about the coax that I'm using when I'm using, the regular coax. There was an MMP Airborne 10, I think, that I'm using for PL259 connections.
Okay.
And I just need to be mindful because that's regular coax. It has a pretty stiff makeup. And if you just deploy it, guess what? You're going to rat's nest behind you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think I put a M&P set, I think it might have been Airborne 10 on Aaron's truck. I just put that brand new antenna on your truck, and I think that's what I used on that. So.
And to be clear, this is all operator headspace and timing. It has nothing to do with MMP. It has everything to do with the idiot behind the mic, right? So, understand that when I say it has a stiff makeup to it, it is by design. It is supposed to be that way. It's just that I didn't mind it the way I should have.
Yeah.
On the first jump I made with the other antenna and that coax, and now I know better. So now I just need to be and now I'm very mindful about uncoiling one coil, make sure it's straight, and then the next coil, and so on and so forth until I have all of it behind me.
Okay.
So now, how much weight does that add? Do you go faster, with
A little
the radio?
bit. A little bit. My radio kit, I believe, comes in at 13.5 pounds. Between the radio, the antenna, the other radio, I carry an HT to APRS. And last night, I thought I was going to have to use that radio as a backup. Because in the airplane, I have my primary HF radio right now is an IC706 Mark IIG. If you're not familiar with it, it has a removable head.
Mm-hmm.
The removable head is finicky about making contact.
Yeah.
So in the airplane, I had to take the tape that I have holding that head together. You don't need the tape, right?
Right.
But for what I'm doing, I want to fix the head in to make sure that it doesn't move around or come off.
Right.
and I had to take the tape off to jostle the connection to put it back on, and it still wouldn't turn on. And I'm in the airplane. We're getting close to opening the door, and I'm like, "Oh, am I going to have to make this a 2-meter jump out of nowhere?" Right? Mm-hmm. Well, thankfully, I jostled it just enough and put the tape back on, where I was able to use HF. But all told, between the radio, the battery, the antenna, the backup radio, I'm looking at 13 and a half pounds. Does that make me go faster? Yes, absolutely. Does that make me go significantly faster? No. My wing loading, so I bought a bigger canopy. I bought a bigger parachute system specifically to be able to do parachute mobile for a longer period of time.
Okay.
My primary system holds a 135 square foot wing. With that wing, I was getting about 9 minutes, 10 minutes of flight time, mm-hmm. of which I would be able to spend 7 to 8, playing radio. The rest of the time was either extending an antenna or retracting an antenna and getting ready to land. I don't play radio below a certain altitude. It's just a matter of safety. For example, last night, as soon as I called QRT, if those of you that are not familiar with ham radio, QRT means I'm done. I'm done. Literally, yeah. I'm done. I'm out of here. I'm done. As soon as I heard that, as soon as I called QRT, a KD9 station, I'm like, and you'll see it on my video.
Yeah, I heard it.
In my video, I put the camera up to my face. I went, KD9 station, I heard you. Not working. Sorry. I'm below my altitude. I'm not playing radio anymore. I'm flying by parachute. So I make hard deadlines, and
you have to.
Yeah, my safety is at stake, so I'm not screwing around with that. I'm not messing around with it. So at 3.5, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done. I've gone as low as 3 before, and when I'm not retracting my antenna, perfectly fine. Below 3, I will not talk to anyone.
Yeah.
Below 3 is Carlos time.
Right.
It's time for me to fly in full flight mode, and let's just go have some fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
So does it increase my fall rate? Absolutely, not significantly. Okay. So I went from 135. On the 135, it made a significant difference. I bought a bigger system. It's 170 square feet on 170 square foot. Not that big of a system.
And you open it sooner than normal,
yeah.
Right?
So normally you leave the airplane at 14,000 feet above sea level, or 14,500 feet above sea level, ballpark. And you free fall until about 3,500 feet, and then you open. When I'm doing radio, I leave the airplane at, call it 14,000 above sea level. I free fall for a second or two, and I open up my parachute right away so that I have time to play radio. If I didn't do that, I wouldn't be able to play radio at all.
Right. And you see that in the videos. It's like a second or two after you clear the plane, you see the chute come out. At least in all the videos that I've ever seen. And I know your first thing, you look up and then you close the little flap that's above your head. Every single time I watch you do the videos.
So that's called a slider, and the job of the slider is to slow the opening down.
Okay.
Right. If anyone is familiar with rigging, like rigging loads and whatnot, it's called a reefing system. And the slider's a reefing system. And it just takes the lines and bunches them together and creates friction on purpose. And the idea is the friction from the grommet against the line slows it doesn't allow the lines to completely come out, and it makes for a slower, gentler opening. If without the slider, I wouldn't skydive. It would hurt.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, you're going from doing, like in my jumps, for example, I'm not doing 120 miles an hour. Typical free fall speed, ballpark, 120 miles an hour. I'm not doing 120 miles an hour when I leave. I'm doing 80 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
But 80 miles an hour to 20 miles an hour in 4 seconds
still kick you in the...
would hurt, right?
Kick you in the stomach.
When you slow it down to 6 seconds, it doesn't hurt at all.
Yeah.
At all. It's amazing what 2 seconds... What the slider does for you is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Whomever came up with the slider, it's a genius.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
So the whole purpose of the slider is to slow the entire opening down.
Okay.
I'm actually going to make a technical video about that over winter. Obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, we live in the Midwest. For those of you that don't know, we live in the Midwest. I do travel to warmer climates during the summer, during the winter, to try and get a few jumps in, but I don't always get to.
Right.
So it means that I don't get to skydive in the winter. I could. It's just bitterly cold.
Mm-hmm.
It is, and I don't do well with the cold. If you heard my name is Carlos, I'm from Puerto Rico. I'm a tropical boy. Give me 80 degrees and 90% humidity. I'm a happy man.
Yep. See, I'm the exact opposite. I'm 5'8", 250. I want that.
We're not jumping out of airplanes, though.
Yeah, exactly. We're not jumping out of airplanes, and I want that nice cold weather. 6 inches of snow on the ground.
Hard pass.
10 degrees out.
I live in the Midwest because my wife is from here. If my wife were not from here, we would not live here. If my wife were from, I don't know, Alabama, you know where we'd live? We'd live in the warm out of Alabama. If my wife were from Texas, we'd live, and similarly, if my wife were from Minnesota, I guess where we would be living.
Yeah.
In frigid Minnesota.
Yeah.
So, how did you come about to decide to just jump out of airplanes?
That is, oh my God, that is a weird. I've been asked how I've decided to join the two hobbies. I've never.
Yes.
I don't think I've been asked in an interview how I decided to do this. So here, I'm going to try to make this as short as possible without shorting you the experience. As a 4-year-old, I saw the Golden Knights. The Golden Knights is the United States Army parachute team. Land at the ballpark at my hometown. Literally, I walked from my grandmother's house to the ballpark for this event. They had a big bike rally, and my biological father took me to it because I wanted to see the bikes. And I had no idea that there were skydivers coming in. And the big show wasn't the bikes. The big show was the skydivers coming into the park. And we got there just in time for me to see a streamer come down. A streamer's a piece of fabric with a bit of weight that in the old days of skydiving, before you had the technology that we have today, you would go in an airplane, in the same airplane that you would jump out of, and at about 3,000 feet, you would open up the door and you throw out the streamer to see what the winds were doing. So then you can set up the exit higher up.
Okay.
And I saw the streamer come down, and I'm like, what in the world is that? And I saw it, and then, the people, they were like, oh, there's parachutists. And sure enough, next thing you know, 10 minutes later, there's these guys jumping out of airplanes, and I'm seeing them streaming smoke, and I'm like, oh my God, that is cool. They landed, they put on a show, and I fell in love with the idea of jumping. Like, one of these days I'm going to do that. Just think about a childhood one of these days. How many kids see something and they say one of these days, and they never do it, right? Well, I was that kid. I never did it. My wife got sick and tired of hearing me say, one of these days, I'm going to jump out of an airplane. And she got sick and tired enough that she bought me 2 tandems.
Nice.
Here in Rochelle. Right? Well, not here, and we're not in Rochelle, but Rochelle's not that far.
Yep.
And she says, oh, by the way, I got you 2, and if you let me have one, I'll go with you. Exactly. Oh, she's calling my bluff.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's hunting season when she gives these to me. And I'm not giving up a day in the tree stand. I'm just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So we're not going to go skydiving in October. And season ends in end of October, beginning of November. Well, guess what? No big deal. We're going to go in spring. A really, really good friend of mine finds out about it. He buys a tandem as well. We all drive together in his car to Rochelle, make a tandem jump, and my wife thought that this was going to be a one and done thing. My wife thought, we're going to get this out of his system, and he'll shut up about it. He'll move on to the next item. So the truth of the matter is that on the ground I was perfectly fine. I'm going to go skydive.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go skydive. It's just a tandem. No big deal.
Yeah.
There's some guy strapped on my back. I'm the little spoon. I get it.
Yeah.
Right? But he's a pro.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to handle all the hard part. Right? As soon as I got into the airplane, I was terrified.
Yeah.
Like, that's when it set in that, oh, I'm about to go jump out of an airplane.
A perfectly good airplane,
I mean,
nonetheless.
a reasonably well-maintained aircraft. There's no such thing as a perfectly good airplane. Airplanes are metal fatigue factories.
True, I'll give you that.
So, all the way on the climb, all I'm thinking is, how do I get out of this? How do I get out of this, Aaron? How do I get out of this?
Out the door.
I'm going to be the best husband ever. Because it's my wife, my buddy Perry, and me. My wife is going to come to her senses. And when it's time for her to go, she's going to say, no, I'm not going. And I'm going to be the knight in shining armor. I'm going to stay with my wife. I'm going to be the good husband. I'm staying in this airplane with my wife. You can't throw me out. This is not going to happen. I'm staying with my wife. And this is my plan from the moment we take off until she left. And I had a reprieve for 10 seconds because she left and my jaw dropped and I'm like, oh crap, I gotta go now. And then in a split second my brain went, Perry's not gonna go. I want to be the best friend ever. I'm gonna hang out with my buddy. I'm like, bros are gonna hang out together. And 10 seconds later, Perry left. And I knew I had no choice whatsoever but to leave this airplane. And I was terrified. And we scoot down the bench and I have my eyes clenched. They're closed. I'm not watching. And I'm feeling my way down the bench. We get to the edge. We sit down on the floor. And my brain had a moment of clarity. It said, listen, you idiot. You're going to do this once, exactly once in your life. Don't be stupid. Open your eyes. And be terrified. Go for the ride. Be terrified. And the exit process is a count. So it's out for ready, in for set, and out for go. And my tandem instructor, we went over this on the ground. And we were at the door. I'm hanging off the edge. My eyes are clenched shut. And my brain had this little talk. And the out for ready is when I opened up my eyes and I looked down. And I had a moment of instant bliss. Like the kind of experience that you have once in a lifetime where you see clarity. Where you see joy in a place you never expected. And at that moment, I wanted to go. Like, at that moment, it is done. We're going. And I tried pulling the instructor with me. And he's like, no, not yet, and go. Because there's a count, right?
Uh-huh.
The count is there for a couple of reasons. One is for him to know, for him to cue me in that we're going to go.
Yeah.
And the other part of the count is to generating enough distance between groups, right? Mm-hmm. And we needed 10 seconds that day.
Yeah.
So if I had left 8 seconds, we would have been too close to my buddy Perry and his tandem instructor. So this tandem instructor's like reined me in. He's like, no, and now we go. Oh, it was a million miles an hour. Like just the amount of sensory overload. I have never, ever felt so happy in my life. And as soon as the parachute opened, I twisted my head around and I said, okay, I got to do this. I got to do this by myself. I got to do this all the time. How do I do this? And he's like, well, we can get you a license. And I'm like, great, let's get a license. He goes, well, you have to do this. I said, great, whatever it is it takes. Whatever it is, I'm doing it. Oh, and by the way, the moment we leave the airplane, I am screaming like a 5-year-old girl that has been stepped on by a horse. I am screaming so loud that people on the ground heard me in free fall, and that is rare. And I mean rare. I am telling you, as a tandem instructor today, that you can yell pretty loud and I still won't hear you because of the wind blasting by our ears. Rare the person that I hear. Certainly hard to be heard on the ground. The staff came out of the building to figure out what was wrong. Keep in mind, my wife left. My buddy Perry left. And I left. Okay? 10 seconds apart. So I am 20 seconds behind my wife. I'm a little bit better than halfway into my free fall. Her parachute opens, and her instructor says, well, she's having a good time. And she had to turn her head around and goes, no, that's my husband. I don't know if she knew then that she had completely screwed up. But as soon as we landed, because I was not stopping, even under the parachute, I was just like, this is the most amazing thing ever. As soon as we landed, she just looked at me and went, good? And I'm like, I'm going to get a license. Understand that. Are you guys familiar with Dave Ramsey?
Yep.
Total Money Makeover?
Yep.
We had just finished our debt snowball.
Congrats. That's
Right.
a hard deal to do.
It was very hard,
Congratulations.
right? We had a way too much debt. Any debt is too much debt, I think, at this point in time in my life, but we had just finished that. And as a good snowball couple, we had a budget. We still have a budget. Every penny's accounted for. And my wife, being my wife, practical that she is, she says to me, good luck. Not in the budget. Not in the budget. And it's not going to become an outline item in the budget. Everything that we have in the budget is stuff that we need, or stuff for retirement. We need to start saving for retirement. You are not taking money out of the retirement fund to get a license. So guess what? You want to get a license? Get a second job. Guess what I did?
Got a second job.
I got a second job so that I could afford this, right? So I got a second job packing parachutes the next year.
Yeah.
And I paid for my license and I paid for my first set of gear packing parachutes.
Nice.
So
That's a good way to do it.
that's the abbreviated version. Like, that's the PG version of this story. Once we stop recording, I'll tell you the non-PG part.
Well, I'm coming out there, because we came out there a couple weeks ago. It's a really cool place to come out and see you jump. And it's out in Rochelle, which is about 30 miles from where we are right now. We're in Hinckley, Illinois. And you guys have 2 planes that go up, correct?
Yes, we typically keep 2 planes at the drop zone. Occasionally we'll have 1, and occasionally we'll have 3.
Okay.
But at a minimum, the drop zone owner has committed to us to keeping 2 planes at the drop zone. He has broken that promise a couple of times, and he apologizes deeply for it at times. And Doug, if you're hearing this, I'm still going to give you crap about it. But yeah, we keep 2 airplanes when we're busy enough, which most of the time we're busy enough. We keep both airplanes running all the time, especially during the summer. It's, an airplane goes up, 7 minutes later, another airplane goes up, 7 minutes later, and they're staggered enough. We're just going up and down,
It was
up and down.
constant.
Yeah,
I
it
couldn't
was-
believe it. It
Yeah.
was just all the time.
And keep in mind that we have a different situation in Rochelle. Most drop zones are not this, okay? So if you're listening to this and you think I'm going to go to my local drop zone, listen, you're going to be welcomed at your local drop zone. And they will try to, try to get you to make a jump, but you don't have to make a jump. You can sit there and watch. You can spectate. But if you are near Rochelle, Illinois, and you come to our drop zone, the experience you're getting is a world-class experience.
Right.
There's only a handful of places that are like this in the U.S.
I would agree with that, because we were actually... I was threatening Erin to get her a ticket to go on a tandem as we were sitting there last time we met, watching you go up and down. So we were talking about trying to make that work.
So, you can go to a drop zone and spectate and enjoy it and whatnot, but understand that the experience that you're going to get at CSC is different than the experience you're going to get at your average drop zone.
Right.
Are there some other drop zones in the U.S. that are as good, perhaps better? Absolutely. They're not that many. Okay, off the top of my head, also south of here, Skydive Chicago, also a world class. It was purposely built as a drop zone. That's a private airport.
Okay.
Right. The founder of that place is now dead, but he built it specifically as a drop zone.
Okay.
We are in a municipal airport in Rochelle, and our facility was obviously built as a drop zone, but we also have to contend with the the stuff that comes along with being in a municipal airport.
Right. You guys are a pretty busy airport.
Yeah, and not just from skydiving, right?
Right.
There's a restaurant on site, so there's people that have airplanes that fly in for the restaurant, so we have traffic from that. We are in the Midwest. It's an easy stop for people making cross-country flights to get fuel. It's not an uncommon stop.
Right.
Where Skydive Chicago is a purpose-built facility for skydiving. The only people that land there are the people that are allowed to land there. If you call and you say, I want to land here, you better have a purpose, or they're going to tell you to go somewhere other place. They don't have they don't have field for you. They don't have facilities for you. If you land there, it's because you were allowed to land there. And that's another example of another purpose-built, world-class kind of a situation. Skydive Arizona and Eloy, Arizona, Eloy, however you say it, similar situation, purpose-built drop zone. Skydive Alabama, which is southwest of Huntsville by about 38 miles. Again, in a municipal airport, not as built as CSC, but also a very nice experience. So there's another place where you can go spectate. The owners of Skydive Alabama also have a drop zone in Tennessee and another one in Georgia, and all three facilities are similar to each other.
Okay.
So, while you won't have a restaurant in place, it's a nice place where you can go spectate. Right. The flip side is the drop zone that I learned at was a hangar with barely enough room for us to pack. Hot, stuffy. You could come and spectate, but there was no flowing water. There was no, the bathroom was a porta-john, right? There's no air conditioning. Like at our drop zone, you can take a reprieve and go inside for a little bit and get a little air conditioning, right? So understand that the average drop zone is what I'm talking about. Where I learned how to skydive in Indiana is a small airplane with a tiny hangar. It's hot, and they'll gladly welcome you as a spectator. I'm not here to jump. I just want to watch perfectly, enjoy, pull up a chair, stay behind this line, perfectly fine. But the experience is very different. Okay?
Right. And you guys gave us top-notch, world-class, I felt like a part of the family when we showed up to come watch you jump a couple weeks ago. Took the girls, showed them all the planes, sat us down, shook hands, make sure everything was going okay, and just generally checking in. And we were afraid to come out and bother you because we were afraid you were working.
Oh no!
But it's totally different. It's completely opposite of that. You want people there.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, if you hang around long enough, this thing might interest you long enough to make a jump.
Right.
I want more skydivers in the air. The more skydivers I have, the more people I can fun jump with. These are my friends, right? I want more skydivers in the air. Who wouldn't?
Right. And
we want more ham radio operators, right?
Absolutely.
So we go to a park, we play Parks on the Air, and some random Joe comes by and goes, "Oh, wow!" And we explain it. Would you like to make a call? I'll walk you through it. I'll coach you through it.
Right.
Same thing skydiving, right?
Yeah.
It's a very limited reach hobby, and we want more people in it. So we're going to be as welcoming as we can possibly be.
I mean, ham radio is a little less scary, though, than
A little less.
I don't know.
jumping out of an airplane.
I don't know. Mike Fright can get to you.
That's true.
A little less scary, but probably just as expensive.
More so. Take it from a guy that has on both sides. Ham radio has cost me more than skydiving has. Now, to be fair, I'm also a skydiving instructor, so I make money in skydiving. So a lot of the money that I've put into skydiving has already been paid back, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
But yeah, I didn't see it, but I heard of it. a father in Huntsville at the Huntsville Hamfest dropped something like 14K on a flex and a step IR and all the other happy-go-lucky stuff that goes along with it.
Right.
For his, like, I don't know, I think it might have been 13, 14-year-old kid.
Yeah.
That's an expensive hobby. I mean, granted,
Yeah.
we're talking about high-end stuff, right?
Absolutely. I mean, the radio that I have downstairs is a ICOM IC7610. And that is no drop in the bucket for...
This is a chunk of change, man.
Yeah. But it's one of the better radios. Now, I don't have a top dollar antenna to go with it, but I'm building up.
But you get there, right?
Exactly. So
You know,
gotta start somewhere.
I mean, you know, get yourself a Nebula. A Nebula.
I know. I want one of those. I don't think that would fly at this property, unfortunately.
Why not?
Because we got the tree canopy that we have here is 95 feet.
So?
Where would I put it? We
Okay,
have to talk
wait a minute.
about
Between
that.
the
How
trees.
much is this that you're trying to talk him into?
It's, what, $700?
Yeah, probably. So, but it's a, what, 90 foot tall antenna?
60 foot tall.
60
antenna.
foot? Okay.
Yeah. 18 meters, 18 times 3. Yeah, close to 18, close to 60
So
feet.
55, 60 feet.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there.
You just put it between the trees,
Yeah.
right?
We have a swing set.
But she has to have her photogenic area out back because I put my NFET out there one day and I dog-legged right instead of dog-legging left and I got yelled at.
I couldn't take a picture of the garden with the field behind it without the wire in it.
Okay, I mean, I can understand that, right?
I mean,
That's why they make Photoshop.
Exactly.
wow. Or I say, nope, move it.
Move it, Buster.
Yep.
Oh.
So what's your favorite thing about doing the jumps?
Jumps in general or radio jumps?
Jumps in general, and then we'll go to radio jumps.
Okay, so jumps in general, my favorite thing about doing jumps in general is the absolute feeling of freedom.
Okay.
Like, listen, I know why birds sing.
Mm-hmm.
I know exactly why birds sing. And it's because they're free. They're free to fly. And I get to enjoy that for a little bit of time. And that's all I get, and I'm perfectly fine with it. And it's just sheer joy. Like absolute sheer joy.
Okay.
You know, Tank Radio, we were used to him yelling and Tank Radio, right?
So for those that don't know him, I'll link his channel. It's Frank K.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head,
All right.
I couldn't tell you.
I'll put his link to his YouTube channel. Cool guy, but if you ever hear Frank,
And the thing is, I am as loud on my landing as Tank is on every day, right? When I land, it's a scream of joy because I just got to spend a few minutes doing something nothing but lovely.
and I will verify that because you were 100 yards away from us when you landed every single time, and I heard you scream every single
It's
time.
what's not to scream about?
Right.
I just exited an aircraft at 14,000 feet, and I got to play like I'm a bird for a good chunk of that, and then I got to fly a parachute for a good chunk after that. It's ecstasy. It's nothing short of bliss.
Right.
It's bliss on Earth, straight up, or off Earth, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. I mean, it sounds like fun. I would love to do it one day. It just scares the shit out of me.
That's okay. I mean, I'll tell you. I'll tell you, and I'll tell anyone that wants to hear it. If your first few jumps aren't scaring the living daylights out of you, I don't want to take you.
Yeah, which makes sense.
The people that aren't scared are trying to kill me. Every single time I've taken someone that's not scared in some way, they try to kill me. Once I see someone has a little bit of a scare, I feel a whole lot better. I took my niece about a month ago,
Okay.
and she was perfectly fine on the ground. She was Miss Perfectly Fine in the airplane. When the door opened, she became an earthquake. And I went from, oh, my niece is going to try to kill me. She's going to try to kill me. Oh, my God, she's going to try to kill me. To, oh, thank God we're going to live. Right? It's the people that don't get scared always try to kill me. Every single one.
That makes sense.
Like, are they like reckless?
Yes,
Or?
they don't pay attention to what you're telling them to do. They don't do anything of what you told them to do, and everything that they can possibly do wrong, they do.
Okay, that makes sense.
When you have a
Yeah.
little bit of fright about it, you pay a little bit more attention, and you do at least a little bit of what I asked you to do. I don't need you to do all of it.
Yeah.
If you do all of it, oh, amazing, thank you, appreciate it. You're 1 in a million,
Yeah.
right? Or more like 1 in 50 that actually do everything I tell them to do. But if you do half of it, we're gonna be just fine.
Yeah.
It's just when you don't do any of it that I have to fight for every ounce of stability that I can get. And oh, by the way, I'm trying to save your life.
Right. Right. Because, I mean, you're
Help
falling
me.
at 120 miles an hour from 14,000 feet. If that parachute doesn't open, you're going to go splat.
I mean, they are.
Yeah.
I'm going to use them as an airbag.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I have enough talent to put you down, believe me. Even if we're on our backs, I'm going to rotate and put you down. The last thing you're going to hear is take a deep breath and hold it. Why? I need an airbag.
All right, so what's your favorite thing about the radio jumps?
Oh, man. The radio jumps, my favorite part about it is the pileup.
Okay.
It makes me giddy to hear that many people trying to actually make contact with me.
Right, right. Okay, so for anybody who doesn't understand ham radio, a pile-up is what? You'll hear 15 to 30 people?
So many voices that you can't make them all out. And occasionally you might hear November, and you go, okay, station ending of November, come back. And then out of that mess of people, 3 people come back, and you're like, okay, one of you 3 come back to me. Or, maybe I heard November Alpha Niner. Okay, out of the 3 people that came back, I heard November Alpha Niner come back. And, and then you call.
Yep.
Well, the next November station come back, and then the next person calls, and so on. But working that pileup is a riot.
Yeah.
I never expected this to be a thing. I legitimately expected this to be an experiment that was going to be a handful of jumps a year, maybe just 2 or 3 jumps a year for me to test how far can I get with this setup or that setup or the other setup. And it's turned into a thing. Like when I make a posting online that I'm going to go make a jump and in an hour tune your radio to this frequency and try to make the call, people in general line up.
Right.
And it's humbling. It's really humbling because people are like, I didn't expect this to be a thing.
Yeah. And it's probably the coolest thing I've seen in ham radio yet. I know there's a lot of stuff that can keep people busy. You have parks on the air, you have satellite contacts. But hearing the guy where you have, say, 10 minutes to make contact with, it's harder to me than the satellite contact because you have more people trying to jump in on it and make that contact as you're coming down.
Yeah. It's humbling. I mean, you don't understand. Maybe you do. I don't know. The amount of humble that I have to eat here because it's just one of those. I'm like, wow, I can't believe this many people actually want to talk to me. And I get that a good chunk of it is the novelty of the contact.
Yeah.
But the follow up to that is that I have patrons on Patreon that are throwing me some money every month for me to be able to afford the jumps because I work in the sport. I have to take time off work to make these jumps. So I make them when I can. Like if I can afford to do so, if the dropsum can afford to spare me, I'll take the afternoon off or the morning off or maybe sometimes a whole day off to make these jumps. But I'm literally giving up part of my paycheck by doing that.
Right.
And the folks that are helping me on Patreon are helping me offset some of that, right? And the other folks, the supporters that are outside of Patreon, like Ham Radio Dude and Vern and Michael, like they help me make more jumps because I'm able to justify more jumps, right? If it weren't for those folks, I think I've done 12 jumps this year, and if it weren't for those folks, I might have made 5, if that, because I have to take time off.
Right.
So part of how I don't make a ton of money skydiving, but part of how I put money on the table, at home. When the wife said, "You're going to have to get a second job to pay for this," well, I did, and I never stopped it, right? I just went from packing parachutes to doing coaching to doing teaching. And now that's part of our income. That's part of what we depend on to put money into our retirement accounts and offset some of the expenses that we have in the house. So it's humbling to go to my Patreon and see that somebody did this. I'm like, wow, I'm appreciative. I don't know,
Right.
do you guys have a Patreon for your?
No, we don't. No,
Okay.
we're still pretty new to this whole deal. We do the main one that we have is we use Fountain FM.
Okay.
So that's a web podcast 2.0 for Bitcoin and
Perfect.
cryptocurrencies.
But-
So that's our main one.
But here's for the sake of argument, you just put on a chicken processing workshop, right?
Yep, that was a couple weeks ago.
Right, and people signed up for it. Mm-hmm. You can't tell me that wasn't humbling,
Oh, it was.
Oh, yeah,
it was
for
very humbling.
right? You can't tell
Yeah.
me that people actually want to learn how to do this stuff from me.
From us who, we're
Right.
nobodies. Like,
Yeah.
we just do this because...
Exactly, I'm a nobody.
Yeah.
I'm just another ham radio guy. I'm just another skydiver. Look, there's 50,000 skydivers in the United States. Mm-hmm. Out of that lot, there's got to be at least 100 ham radio people, at least. It just happens that I'm the one that's more active about it. There's a guy in California that does it. Mm-hmm. He does a great job of it,
Right.
but he's not as active about it as I am.
Right. And I think you were the first person that I ever saw do it. So I don't know if you were officially the first person
Oh
to do
no!
it or
The
not.
group in California.
Okay.
I found out about it later, right? Because I made my first jump. Mm-hmm. Listen, I made my first jump thinking, I want to see how far I can take this HT.
Okay.
I'm not a theory guy.
Right.
I get theory, right? I
Right.
understand theory. I read theory, but I'm a practical, real world. I want to see what really happens.
Right.
So I got my ticket, and as soon as I started studying for the tech license, you start learning about antennas and placement and how the antenna matters more than the power.
Yes, absolutely.
How the antenna matters more than the radio. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to know, how far can I take 5 watts on an HT? Mm-hmm. This is how it all started. Just how far can I take this? It's an itch I want to scratch. I'm a curious guy. I want to see. And I made the jump just to experiment. It was just to see where can I go with 5 watts.
Yeah.
And when I landed, and I wasn't as nice about it as I probably should have been. I've had comments on that video. Well, you should wait for a break. Well, guess what? 14652 is dead on the ground.
Yeah.
Once you're above 3,000 feet or so, it is non-stop chatter because you start picking up distance.
Yeah.
You start picking up a lot of distance. If you wait for a break, you're never going to break in.
So on like 5.2 is the national simplex frequency.
For 2 meters, yeah.
Right.
So I broke into a conversation. They KD9OLN parachute mobile. Mm-hmm. I'm in a parachute. Mm-hmm. Who wants to talk to me? And when I got done with it, I looked up those people online. If I could find an email address for them, what I did is I put the video on YouTube. I had built a channel for the idea with the idea of putting up skydiving videos. That's what it's called, LifeAtTerminalVelocity, right? Excuse me, and not KD9OLN.
You're right.
It was meant as a skydiving video channel. Mm-hmm. I don't think I have too many proper skydiving videos on there other than the parachute mobile stuff that I'm doing.
Yeah, I haven't seen too many. I think there's a few ham radios videos on there.
So I took that video, posted it on my YouTube, found those folks, send them an email. Hey, if you want to see the other side of that Queso, just so you know that I'm not BSing you. I really am under a parachute. And then, somebody replied, "Oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty neat. You should post that on Reddit." And I'm like, I guess. So I posted it on Reddit, and I didn't think anything of it. And I came back to Reddit a few days later, and I'm like, "Oh, this thing's blowing up." And I go to my YouTube channel, like, "Oh my God, this thing blew up." When are you making the next jump? Where are you going to jump next? Where's the next jump? What frequency? This idea. I'm like, well, I guess I can make another jump. I have other antennas I want to test. I want to see what that. Okay, I know what that antenna did. I have a couple other antennas. I want to try them out. Great. I'll make another couple of jumps. It's now a thing, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So what do the other skydivers think? Like, did you have to bring this up to CSC and be like, "Hey, I want to do this," or?
Fortunately, not. I have been working at CSC long enough now that they know that I'm a safe person. They know that I'm not going to do something stupid,
right,
and reckless. So when the first time I showed up with something other than a handheld in my pocket. Like when I showed up with a handheld in my pocket, I had it tethered. With 550 cord and to a carabiner to the harness of the system, and they were like, "What in the world is that?" And I told them, they go like, "Well, okay, have fun." Like they didn't even question it. They were just like they wanted to know what it was. When I showed up with the bag that I use, that fanny pack, they were like, "Dude, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, I leveled up, going to HF." They're like, "What is that?" And I explained it to the owner. He was like, "I hope you're having fun." So, I have a reputation for being a safe skydiver. So they know that I'm not going to do something stupid. Right. So if I show up to do something, for the most part, they're going to let me do it because they know I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I'm not trying to hurt myself or anyone else. And there's something to be said for that. When I did this at Skydive Alabama, I did it with an HT and not HF, but I was prepared for that conversation about HF, right? I was perfectly ready to just have a conversation with the manager of the drop zone to explain, "Oh no, this is perfectly safe. I've done it before. Here are my YouTube videos. See how it's done. Blah blah blah." Can I get more water?
Yes, you can. Absolutely.
Thank you. So, from that end, I'm fortunate because I've built up a reputation for not doing reckless things. So it wasn't questioned.
Right.
And
that makes sense.
The other skydivers, are they...
The other skydivers think... Some of them think that I'm an absolute nerd, which is true. And some of them are coming to the idea of, "Oh, this is very cool." And now it's getting to the point where people are, when I land, are like, "How far did you talk this time? What's your farthest contact?" It started with your typical, "Are you talking to Martians?" Right? And now it's, "So, where did you talk today?" And I'm like, "Oh, when I landed yesterday, they're like, I'm pretty sure I got a New York contact. I'm pretty sure I got a Tennessee contact. I got, Minnesota, northern Minnesota." They were like, "Oh, that's kind of short for you, isn't it?" I'm like, "Yeah, most of the time I get out pretty far. Something was wrong, and I just couldn't figure it out what it was, and it is what it is." But ultimately, I landed safe and sound on the ground.
Yeah.
I can walk away from it. It's a good jump.
Yeah.
Even if I make 0 contacts on a jump, it's a good jump.
Successfully.
Exactly.
I landed safely. I'm back. I'm back in the hangar, packing in my parachute. I'm like, well, I figured out the next one.
Yeah. When you think of ham radio, like me coming in as a new amateur radio
operator.
You think of the grumpy old men sitting in their basement just talking about the old days, and it's like boring.
Absolutely.
And now it's like you meet someone like you, and it's like, holy crap, that's like cool. It's something new. It's something that anybody can,
I hope that
be interested in.
I hope that what I'm doing might get somebody else to do something else. Not just not parachute mobile, right? Because, and if it's parachute mobile, great. Actually, there's a guy getting his license at CSC now, who is an amateur, who didn't know about me, and when he saw me with my stuff, he was like, "What are you doing?" And I told him, he was like, and he gave me his call sign. I'm like, "Oh, so you're an amateur?" He goes, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Great, finish getting your license so you and I can make jumps together and tag team people." Two for it, right?
There you go.
Right?
Perfect.
you got Carlos, you got him, you got Carlos. Like he's like, you do what? He's like, I totally want to do this, and I'm like, do you have your HT? Because I'm making a 2-meter jump today, so get your HT out, and I'll get your QSL card, right?
Yeah, it's like trying to mesh the two together, two different hobbies. At
Skydive Alabama, one of their skydivers is also an amateur, and on my 2-meter jump there, he intentionally stayed on the ground so that he could work me from the ground. He says, "Next, we gotta work parachute to parachute." I'm like, "Great, let's get on the next load." Right? So it's let's get this done.
Right.
I hope that other people are inspired to do different things with whatever it is they do, whether it's ham radio, whether it's homesteading, or whatever. All of these things have room to expand. All these things have room to mesh together, right? Mm-hmm. You guys have taken your homestead and added ham radio to it, right?
Yep.
Two different things that work together, right? It's why not? Maybe somebody will do it out of a kayak or out of a canoe, or I don't know, out of something different that I haven't seen or heard. I've seen people do it out of a boat. I've seen people do it out of a sailboat.
Yeah, I had a maritime mobile from the Netherlands a couple days ago.
Right, so you can do it out of a sailboat because your mast is tall enough you can put a wire antenna on it. Great. How about you do it out of a kayak? Or I don't know. I'm just hopefully somebody sees what I'm doing and says, well, I can mix this hobby with that hobby.
Right.
Canning and skydiving.
Yeah.
That'd be difficult.
That would be difficult. That'd be messy.
It would be messy.
Yeah, that would be very messy.
Maybe you could go skydive while you're waiting for the cannon to can.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, for the seals to set. Ping. Pop, 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 pop.
That would be good.
All right. Well, let's talk about the homesteading.
Yep. Yeah. We got to get that in here, definitely.
Yeah.
So you guys have gardens. Right?
We have gardens, and they keep on growing, which is perfectly fine by me. I detest mowing the lawn. Mm-hmm. I find lawns to be a waste of space. Mm-hmm. They produce nothing.
Yes.
I grew up on a farm, and other than a very small area that my grandmother kept for flowers, everything had a function to it. Mm-hmm. The paved area in front of the house, the concrete paved area in front of the house, was for drying coffee, right? The roof of the house also doubled as a coffee drying location. The roof of the shed also doubled as a coffee drying location, right? So we have multiple uses on a structure. Mm-hmm. Every piece of land had some use. And when I moved to the U.S., the concept of having a lawn was interesting at first. Like, oh wow, how crazy is this, right? Mm-hmm. And as I grew up and older, I became to detest lawns because they produced nothing. Yeah. That's not true. They produce pollen, which gets in my nerves because I'm allergic to grass. And then, guess what? I'm responsible for this grass, and I have to go mow it, and it aggravates my allergies. So my wife grew up on a stamp of land, a tiny little piece of land, and her parents had a huge garden. She grew up gardening. She knows this stuff. So when we bought our house, we put gardens in. Mm-hmm. Well, we moved out of that house. Guess what? New house, different layout, the yard. The yard became smaller. We went from 1.5 acres to 1/2 acre.
Okay.
Great. Less grass for me to mow. Still grass for me to mow. Mm-hmm. She said, "Hey, I want gardens." Great. Let's build some gardens. So we built some raised beds for her.
Nice.
Actually, we started with a bare patch.
Okay.
So I rented a sod cutter, and I cut the sod out of the best part of grass of the yard was where she wanted the garden, which is perfectly fine because there was another area of the yard that had terrible grass. So I just went and rented a sod cutter, cut the sod in one place, cut the sod in the other, took the garbage sod, threw it in the back, let it rot, took the good sod, put it over the other place, right? So if I'm going to have grass, at the very least I'm going to have grass that's less maintenance, that grows easier, that's, I don't have to worry about fertilizing or any of that crap. And now we have this patch, probably the size of your living room, that we turned into a garden. And it produced a lot. Well, she grew up in a big garden probably 3 times that size. But it was a household of 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So they needed all the food they could get. My in-laws were not folks of means. And she grew up doing this. It's something she enjoyed. She said, hey, I want to get a bigger chunk in the garden. I'm like, great, let's build you some raised beds. Because the ground level garden is a bit to maintain, right? The raised beds are super easy to maintain because I just built a box, filled it up with dirt, and guess what? There's no grass in it, and there's no weeds in it, and nothing punches through it. Obviously, weeds grow from the top.
Yeah.
Excuse me, but those are easy to pick out because the dirt's soft. So we built 2 boxes. I built her 2 boxes. She did help. And we put a trellis, or an arch, if you will, between the 2 boxes.
Okay.
Using a cattle panel. We just put enough room between the 2 boxes to bend the cattle panel at a reasonable arch. And she uses that cattle panel for cucumbers.
Nice.
Well, guess what? She makes some killer pickles.
Yeah.
Right? Fermented pickles are delicious. If you haven't tried them, you should. And, the next year, she wanted more room to put more cucumber plants. So we built a 3rd box. And the next year, she's been wanting an asparagus patch ever since we met. I talked about skydiving. She talked about having an asparagus patch. You want to make my wife happy? You give her some asparagus that has been grilled, just pulled off the grill. Let me tell you.
A little bit of olive oil and garlic.
Olive oil, garlic, a little bit of salt and pepper to
works.
taste.
Yeah, that works.
Anytime I need brownie points, I find some local asparagus patch. I don't even tell her. I just prep it, grill it. Oh, by the way, here, brownie points earned. Okay. So, she did this wonderful thing for me, and she's been talking about an asparagus patch forever. I'm going to build another box. So I built another box. Well, asparagus box is in.
Yeah.
Well, you guys know you got to wait a few years for asparagus to actually produce right. So we put in beans on the edges of the asparagus box, figuring we're going to use this as a bean box until the asparagus develops. She also put garlic on another edge, and she put radishes on another edge, and it's a decent sized asparagus box.
Okay.
And well, guess what? The beans have taken over.
Yeah.
So we got to find a place for the beans for next year. So I'm going to build another couple of boxes, right?
Yep.
So, she said, I want more. Great, let's build more. So we're just going to keep on building boxes until the yard is full of garden boxes. And basically, all I'm going to be able to fit is a push mower between the boxes. That's my goal.
Yep.
Did nothing wrong with that. 2 passes, you're done.
Exactly. I want to just be able to down, back, and cross it and done, right? Because I don't like mowing grass. It aggravates me. There's going to be a patch of the land that's going to stay the way it is. When we bought the house, had a fenced-in backyard, and we kept that portion fenced in because we had a dog, and it was a convenient place for our dog to be until we installed an invisible fence. And until we did that, it was a convenient spot. Well, we don't have a dog anymore, but we have friends with dogs that come and visit us. Okay. Guess what? It's a convenient spot for them to put their dogs to do their business.
Yeah.
And we don't have to worry about it because we don't have to train a dog on an invisible fence or anything like that. Dogs are pretty good with fences. Oh, I can't go there. Right? Can't go past there. So other than that area, everything else I expect will be turned into a garden. We've just talked about it. She wants to the purpose-built boxes that we're going to make this fall for beans next spring are going to be in the front yard, and they're also going to have cattle panels spanning them to so we can train the beans of the cattle panel, and then as the flower develops and turns into fruit, putting it under the cattle panel to make it easier to harvest. So you
That's
train
a really
them in.
Good idea.
Yeah.
That's what we do with the pickles or the cucumbers. It's what we did with the beans this year. It's what she does with the gherkins. If you want gherkins, let me know. I'll bring you some next week or 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
We gherkins by the gallon.
Oh,
And then we have a nephew that is 3 years old. No, yeah, he's about to turn 3. Is he about to turn 3 or 2? I'm a bad uncle. It's one of those. It's one of those. He's about to turn 3. I'm certain he's about to turn 3. Loves berries.
Okay.
She loves to spoil him. She built him a strawberry patch.
Nice.
Another thing that happened this year is we had this area that was unused that was mulched in because that's where the HVAC unit is at, the compressor for the HVAC unit.
Okay.
But it's mulched in, and it's just there. The mulch is there to try to keep the vegetation away from the HVAC compressor.
Right. Right.
She's like, makes a perfect strawberry patch. So she built them a strawberry patch.
Nice.
So we're gonna put blueberry bushes along one edge of the property.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna put raspberry bushes along the other edge of the property. The beans on the front leading edge of the property. The currant boxes are the other edge of the property. Basically, we're gonna have berries, beans, cucumbers. Like this is gonna turn into a massive garden. It's already a big garden for what we are, right? We're a couple. It's 2 of us, right?
Yeah.
She canned 5 gallons of green beans last weekend.
Wow.
Wow. That's really good.
It's a lot of picking and a lot of and she's got another almost 5 gallons picked. I was talking to her on the way here. She's got another 5 gallons, almost 5 gallons picked on the way here today.
Good.
She's going to meet with her sister tomorrow. They're going to spend the day tomorrow canning cucumbers. No, they're fermenting cucumbers. They're canning beans. They're canning tomatoes, and they're canning something else, and I can't remember what it is. But these are 2 sisters that grew up doing this. Their mother taught them how to do this, and now my brother-in-law is going to learn. I've already learned. The farm that I grew up in, we didn't can. We just ate everything fresh.
Right.
But we were also in the tropics, and we didn't have to worry about having
Food over
winter.
Right.
Because the crops changed.
Something was already.
Well, there was something always growing and available to eat. So we're turning a half acre into as much crop as we can.
Right. So, are you in a neighborhood that having gardens in the front yard, is that a big deal to your neighbors, or?
The fact is that it may be a big deal to them, but I don't care, right? One of the things that happened when we moved to where we moved is that immediately then the neighborhood busybody came to us and says, "You got to join the neighborhood association." To which I said, "Get bent."
Yeah.
The answer is no. "Oh, we're not a neighborhood association like that." I'm like, "No." "Oh, it's towards getting, raising funds towards, extending the nature preserve on the north side of the lake." Great. How about I just give you a donation? I'm not signing a contract on an HOA of any kind. And it's not an HOA neighborhood.
Yeah.
So there are a number of people that are members. I would rather not. Because that way, if anything ever changes, I'm not bound by any of that stuff. So, to answer your question is, I don't care whether they like it or not.
Yeah.
It is my property.
Yeah.
Right. And we used to live in an HOA and deal with that stuff. And your fix around that, Aaron, was to hide the tomatoes behind the bushes on the back of the house so the president wouldn't see them.
Yeah.
While your husband was a board member hiding those tomatoes from the president, who happened to be the neighbor.
Yeah, let's just go over here, sir. Yeah.
It baffles me that HOAs have that kind of power.
Yeah.
It baffles me. But, if you want to live in an HOA, knock yourself out. That's on you, right?
Right.
I for the same reason I wouldn't live in an HOA, because I wouldn't be able to do what I do with ham radio.
And to bring back, an HOA to the first episode, absolutely. I mean, you can't. HOAs are going to beat you over the head with ham radio stuff.
My mom, my stepdad, live in an HOA.
Mm-hmm.
My stepdad was paralyzed by a drunk in 2015.
I'm sorry to hear that.
In order to... so part of what we did is we got a van. We got a mobility van, right? So he can put his wheelchair in the van,
Right.
and Mom can take him places. And part of what we needed to do was we needed to widen the driveway.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what? The HOA wasn't having it. And we threatened legal action. The HOA wasn't having it. I had to call the local news station, and the local news station called the HOA and said, "Hey, we understand that you're not letting this happen. And by the way, do you understand that this is a violation of the ADA?"
Yeah.
Imagine that the HOA, I don't know, where said, "Yeah, you can build that driveway."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? So, no, I wouldn't do that. I just, if you like HOAs, knock yourself out. Hope you're having fun.
Mm-hmm.
Not for me.
Yeah,
Hard
I
pass.
Not for us either.
Yeah, ours was, we were young and we moved from an apartment to an HOA. So it was
Yeah.
kind of a nice little transition of like not having full responsibility,
Right.
but still having the house, and then went, this is BS and we
Yeah.
can't stay
And then,
here.
yeah, we quickly realized it was time to move out and get our own house.
Yeah.
To not deal with the HOA. And that's when we got the place down in Bolingbrook.
You know, and if any, you know, the thing is, I would hope that if any of my neighbors actually had a problem, or like a real problem, they would come to us and say, "Hey, this is an issue,"
Right.
right? And if it's a legitimate issue, I'll gladly accommodate something,
Mm-hmm.
right? But if it's just the thing of looks, I don't care.
Yeah.
You keep your property however you want to keep it, and I'll keep mine however I want to keep it.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as I'm not damaging the environment,
Right.
Right.
I don't care.
Right.
I'm not, you know, digging the property up to mine for gold
Right.
and turning the
Right.
place
Right.
into a hole, right?
Right.
Or for whatever, right? I'm just planting fruits and vegetables, you know. And if you can't get behind that, then something is wrong with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we have stuff here that we just kind of let go. Like, we don't spray anything on the yard.
See,
We don't have... We are not the golf course yard people.
yeah,
That is our neighbor. Our neighbor has the immaculate golf course, you know, beautiful, everything straight. There's the lines cut in the grass, the whole 9 yards.
and if that's what floats your boat,
Yeah.
awesome. Knock
Yeah,
yourself
knock
out.
yourself out.
You know, do whatever floats your boat, so long as it doesn't sink mine, right?
Right, absolutely.
Well, I mean, we had that issue.
Mm-hmm.
We had the space over here that is kind of a weird space, but we wanted to plant food for the rabbits.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a whole bunch of seed. We put a little fencing up to make it look like, you know, we weren't just not wanting to mow and it's, you know, growing over. And they had their True Green company come and
Blasted it.
yep, and it was like, okay, do we fight this or? And then we mowed it down, and now that's where the extra antenna sits.
Yeah.
Great.
Like, well, if
Yeah.
you don't want to look at our weeds, you can look at a trailer.
Yeah.
So-
So we have the tower trailer for the ham radio club over there, and that's where the Hustler 4BTV is going to go. Maybe now the Nebula might go if Aaron will let me buy a Nebula.
It is a fantastic
If
antenna.
anybody wants to send us funds for the antenna,
Yeah, yeah.
then that'd be fine.
So, and that's the other part of our garden. You mentioned that you don't spray. But we don't spray. We don't fertilize. The only fertilization that happens is, again, my wife being the person she is. I don't know how to describe it other than we've had a compost pile forever. Right? When we moved from the old house, we brought the compost pile. We brought the composter with us, and it was like I thought we were just going to dump it at the old house and start. Oh no! The composter's coming the way it is. I've put a lot of
Yes.
work into that.
Yes.
You know.
So now you guys need rabbits too after this.
I'm actually thinking about chickens.
Okay. Well, the nice thing about rabbits, cold manure.
We have bees.
Okay.
And the bees, if you haven't gotten bees, or if you don't have neighbors with bees, you need to get some bees. Your garden will go gangbusters.
We have talked about it. I need to go get tested,
Yeah.
make sure I'm not allergic to
So
them.
you-
That's important, yeah.
So you only have a half acre,
We have a half
and that's
acre.
enough space.
So, one of our neighbors is the reason we moved to where we moved is because they live there.
Okay.
And it happens that we bought a house that is catty corner to them. and they own the property next to us.
Okay.
Okay.
So part of how I'm able to have 160-meter skywave loop for one of my antennas
Nice.
is because I'm able to put half of it in their yard, half of it in their trees.
I mean, that's how we've got with our neighbor. You've got,
our
right?
end fed, my 80-meter end fed, goes up into that big tree out in the backyard.
Yeah.
And then back down into the neighbor's yard.
So we work together. The bees are on their property, but I say it's we have bees. It's the collective we.
Yeah.
Technically, he takes care of the bees. I help him whenever he needs my help.
Okay.
I happen to have the pines, so anytime he needs to smoke the bees out, guess what? The pine needles come from our yard, right? So it's symbiotic. We help each other out. On that side of the fence, we have some great neighbors, truly great neighbors. They own that property, and the wild raspberries that are in that property, also not sprayed. They don't harvest them. We bear the mosquitoes, and we go harvest them, right? So it's with their property, I think it adds up to about an acre.
Okay.
Okay.
But I don't think it'd be an issue to put bees in our yard, even on a half acre. Like if we didn't have access to that yard, or that property, I don't think it'd be an issue. The issue would be with beekeeping and having the time to do so, right? So I don't have the time to do so. And when my buddy said, "Hey, I want to do this," I'm like, "Let's do it. What do you need from me?" He goes, "Well, I'm going to need your help every once in a while with tending the beehives every once in a while, and then, harvesting honey and wax at the end of the season." I'm like, "Great, I'll do that." End of the season for gardening, also end of the season of skydiving. So I don't have much to do over winter other than play radio.
Right.
So yeah, absolutely, I can help with bees then. During the spring and the summer, he needs my help a couple of times. I'm able to help that way, but I'm not like he is constantly tending to the bees.
Cool.
He probably spends 2-3 afternoons a week where he just goes in and checks on them, and then one of those he probably spends an hour just making sure the hive frames are even and developing right and whatnot, shifting them around however they need to be shifted. And the flip side is, guess what? Last December, when he pulled the honey out of the hives, he had something like 3 gallons of honey.
Nice.
Gave us 1.5 gallons.
There you go.
The other side is, this is an experiment I'm actually going to start next year. Don't tell my wife. We found that one of the hives, so he segregated the harvesting of the honey per frame.
Okay.
We found that one of the frames tasted very minty. Well, I have a mint patch. That's another part of the garden. We have a mint patch that's half the size of your table. And I've been wanting to get a bigger mint patch. Not because I use it, but because it's less for me to mow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And the local restaurant, the restaurant of the drop zone, has a hard time getting mint, good mint. I brought them some mint once, and they love it. So I have no problem just going to the mint patch, harvesting a bunch of mint, bringing it to them. So I'm here every other week, just bring them in. They love the idea. They buy me a drink. I don't care. I'm sure they're saving way more than that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't care. Like for me, I'm gonna mow the mint down 4 times a year.
Yeah.
Not mow it down, but cut it down.
Right.
So if I can cut it in sections, and as I'm cutting it, it's renewing. It's making. Well, what we're guessing is that frame is what the bees were harvesting when I let the mint bolt.
Okay.
Because I let the mint bolt once a year. This time of the year, I let it bolt, so the root system has a chance to completely develop, and then next year it comes back. Well, guess what?
Minty honey.
Minty honey.
Nice.
So I'm gonna take a chunk of the root ball, because have you grown mint?
We used to have it in Bolingbrook.
I am not good with herbs. I don't know why I can't do herbs very well.
If you like mint. If you get a good thing of mint, it'll just take over your yard.
Yeah.
If you don't have it boxed in, it'll take over your yard.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a good chunk of the patch that I have now. I'm going to take a good section of the roots. I'm going to transplant them into an area that I don't want to mow anymore at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to let the mint go wild there.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'll let it go wild. I'll let it bolt 100% all the time. Hopefully the bees find their way to it. I don't see why they wouldn't.
Yeah.
Go gangbusters on it, and maybe we can have more frames of minty honey.
Yeah.
That
Because
does sound good.
For tea, like to
Yeah.
sweeten
Yeah.
your tea. Oh my
yeah.
God. It's really good.
That would be cool.
The other side of the experiment is that I'm trying to talk him into it. He loves habaneros, my buddy. I'm like, man, he has this hillside. That hillside is probably every bit of a quarter acre.
Okay.
Because his leads down to the lake. And he has all his weeds right now. He has to mow down those weeds with a weed whacker twice a year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dude, you need to put some seeds, some habanero seeds in there. And let the bees...
Oh yeah, spicy
Spicy
honey.
honey, yeah.
Like,
Although
it
we
won't
saw
be
that.
It won't be spicy, but it'll have the aroma of the habanero.
That's true, yeah.
We saw that in Tennessee. It was hot honey.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you can make hot honey with hot peppers.
Okay.
So you infuse the honey with hot pepper and you can get hot honey.
Okay, so
Okay.
not the same.
The pollen won't come off hot, but it will give the aroma of the... And then if you can take that honey and infuse it with hot peppers
Yeah.
of the same plants, then you're going to be gangbusters because the aroma is going to be there and the taste is going to be there.
Interesting.
Okay, that makes
That
sense.
would be good,
Cool.
I think.
Because the only, like, real interesting honey that we've had was Savannah Bee Company.
Yeah.
And that was 10 years ago?
Yeah, I couldn't even tell
12 years
you.
ago? But that was like lavender and...
Tupelo was the one, but I couldn't
Tupelo
even
was
tell you
really
what.
good. But, I mean, we're going back to, like, when we got first
Honeymoon.
married.
Yeah.
Honeymoon, no pun intended.
Exactly.
A lot of ours, it comes off as a clover because that's the kind of grass we have.
Okay.
Thankfully, it's a useful grass, right? Because
Yes.
it covers, it has a flower, it produces something, even if it's just pollen for the bees.
Mm-hmm.
That's perfectly fine by me. But I'm hoping to replace all that with, produce.
Yeah.
Yeah. The rabbits like the clover, too, so you got two things going for you on rabbits.
Yeah.
We do have a lot of wild rabbits, so...
Yeah, you might have to take care of those before you get the domestic rabbits.
I don't know.
But-
Wild rabbits taste really good.
Yeah, that's true.
See, I would like to try wild rabbit compared to domestic, because our neighbor, when we told him we were getting rabbits, he was like, "Really? Why are you doing that?" And then he tried our rabbit, and he's like, "Oh, I've only had wild. Like, this is really good." So I don't know what.
Wild rabbit, as you might expect, is gamey. Right? You have to cook it slow. Yeah, good.
And he also doesn't like that because he takes a lot of the stuff off of the venison.
Yeah.
So that could be.
So you have to cook it slow. You have to keep it very wet when you're cooking it
Okay.
because it dries up. There's not a whole lot of fat on rabbit. Most of the fat is on the pelt, and you're taking the pelt off to be able to
Yeah.
harvest the meat, right?
Yeah.
So
And domestic is like that, too. It dries out quick if you're not careful.
So, yeah, it's hunt a few rabbits, hunt a few wild rabbits, give it a try. I happen to like it. It's not for everybody, right?
Let's
I
give it a
also
shot.
like venison, and
Yeah.
I go out west, hunt every once in a while. Antelope is delicious. If you haven't had antelope,
I'll try
it's
that.
worth
That
the
sounds
drive.
good.
It's worth the drive out to Wyoming
Okay.
to get some antelope.
So we have our deer stand about a quarter mile behind the house.
Okay.
And our favorite is backstraps, venison backstraps, with puffball mushroom soup. So
Delicious.
puffball mushroom soups, our puffballs are the big white mushrooms.
Oh yeah,
They're
they were in the
about
woods.
Yeah,
Yep.
they're about the size of a basketball.
Yeah,
They're huge.
I didn't know they were edible.
Oh,
they're
yeah.
delicious.
They're delicious.
See,
We-
today I learned.
We
Yeah.
fry them up like fried green tomatoes, and it tastes like hot mozzarella.
Yeah,
It's delicious.
yeah. Tastes
Well,
like
now
cheese
I'm gonna
sticks.
have to because
And they should be starting to come up. Like we just saw ours.
Yep.
So you guys might
see
be a
them-
little behind maybe being...
I see them when I'm going squirrel hunting. So this is the time of the year.
Yeah. So they're going to still get bigger. And as long as you look at them and when you cut them that they're pure white, then
Okay.
they're still good. If they're brown, then they're
No good.
No good.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to show you pictures.
We've got ones that...
I have one, so you know about the approximate size of an ATV.
Yeah.
4 feet wide.
Yeah.
I have one that takes up a picture of one sitting on the rack of my ATV that takes up 3/4 of the rack.
God.
It was delicious.
It's like 3 feet wide.
And we,
How long does it keep, and how many people can you feed?
well, I mean, it doesn't keep in the fridge. We dehydrate it,
Okay.
and we cube it, and I just kept it and made puffball
Yeah.
mushroom soup, and it was, oh my God, it was so
Yeah,
good.
that's like the best to go with venison
Yeah,
back
it was
straps.
perfect.
I have never had that, so that's today I learned.
Yeah, we'll have to get some. Next time, if we get some early enough, we'll dehydrate it and we'll send you home with some.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Yeah, I might try freeze drying it this year, see if it...
yeah, that'll be interesting to see if that
Yeah.
works. So we have a freeze dryer downstairs along
Okay.
with a dehydrator. So we've been kind of playing around with some stuff. So let's see how that goes.
What other kind of questions do you have? You have a list over there.
I do. What is your biggest accomplishment?
Asking my wife to marry me.
There you go. That's a good
Straight
one.
up. Like, that's a no-brainer. That's actually, no, that's not true. Bamboozling her into saying yes. That's my biggest accomplishment.
Yeah.
The biggest con I ever pulled is getting her, there you go. No, seriously, it's, I'm sure that you're going to argue with me about this. But
Okay.
have the greatest wife on the planet.
Well, yeah, one can argue about that. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
She's the greatest wife for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But
Exactly.
I have the greatest wife for me, period.
Yeah.
Without question. So, yeah.
I'll drink to that.
Not much left there, but, yeah, there's no question about it. I hit the absolute jackpot of lotteries.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I met her in the Army. I'll admit to it, it started as just a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
She was one of my troops at the time. I was just trying to get to know all my troops. What's your name? This, that, the other, just personal information. Just wanted to know where you're at. One of the questions I would ask out of everyone, do you have a significant other? And her answer was no, and I don't want one. And my brain went, well, we got to change this. Challenge accepted. Guess what? Almost 28 years later, I still win.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Cool.
All right.
what else?
If you could skydive anywhere, where would it be?
Wow. That is a very heavy question. I can tell you that, without a question, the most memorable skydive I have ever made was here in Rochelle. Just took my wife for a tandem. Right?
That I could see that. That would be
Right.
cool.
I got to share my mistress with my wife.
Okay.
Skydiving is my mistress. She knows it. She knows that I have a date with my mistress every couple of weeks.
Yeah.
She's approving of this mistress.
Mhm.
I think if it were an actual woman, it'd be a different story. I'm pretty certain of it, as a matter of fact. So the most memorable skydive I've ever made was with my wife. So anywhere I can skydive with my wife. She is not fond of the idea of jumping out of airplanes.
Mm-hmm.
She was
But-
the one that got it out of her system.
Exactly. She got it. Yeah, just like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm fine. I'm good. Right. With that said, I love, like, big capital bold blasting letters, love jumping near beaches.
Okay.
Okay. I grew up on an island. I've jumped at the airport that I drove by almost every day.
Mhm.
I've landed on the beach that's just north of it. I landed at the beach I learned how to surf at.
Okay.
I landed at the beach I learned how to swim at. I mean, this is like that's a memorable skydive. Good, that's amazing. Right. Definitely the top 10 skydives of my career. Mm-hmm. But I've also skydived in Grand Haven, Michigan. Again, the view of the beach is just ridiculously beautiful. Mm-hmm. Skydived in Florida, the view of the beach. Oh, so, if I had to pick a place with a beach, especially a beach that I can land on, forget it. Forget it. I will land on the beach and go back and pack and do it again all day long. I don't care.
Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah, that's a good question.
I think that's all I had.
All right. Well, this is getting to be a pretty long episode, so we might have to break this one up into 2 parts.
Well, break it into 4 or 5.
Exactly.
I mean, what you do is you put a few in the can so that when you get busy and you are unable to follow.
There's a lot of weeks that's like, darn it, we got to do another one.
Right?
We joke around with that every week. Every time the girls go out of town, which they're out of town right now, we're going to record 5 or 6 podcasts. We're going to get it done. Yeah,
never happens.
What did we do last night? I played Xbox and you sat up here and watched Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Which Stranger Things, by the way, is amazing. I have a buddy that works on the set.
Yeah.
He posts some pictures on Instagram from time to time when he's allowed. Oh, some neat stuff. So I have questions for you guys.
Okay. Sure.
Okay. What led you down the road of homesteading?
Honestly, it was a lot. We always had the gardens, but a lot of it had to do with we wanted to be a little bit more self-sufficient. So we brought in once the human malware virus, and I hate that that's what brought it up. That's what got us started with the rabbits, and that's when we expanded the garden. So our garden we started off with like a 2 foot by 4 foot little garden at the end of the chicken coop. Now you saw how small a chicken coop is, and right at the end of the little run that we have outside for the chickens, that's where our garlic bed is right now.
Okay.
That was the original garden. So we walked around and you saw just how much we've expanded.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Over that time. And I think that's a lot where it stemmed from, and we just ran with it. Like, we wanted to be more self-sufficient, and we wanted to make our own meat here, and then be able to sit here and tell people it's possible to do. You don't need 100 acres to grow your own food.
I mean, it's handy, but it's not needed.
Right, absolutely. I mean, you're on a half acre, we're on a half acre. We're both growing quite a bit of our own food. Absolutely.
And what I can't grow, I can certainly hunt.
Exactly. So that's same here.
So I know you hunt. Aaron, do you hunt?
I don't, because I'm home with the kids. Okay. I mean, he goes. I think I would go.
Yeah, I could see you coming out.
If it could work out. I don't have. I mean, I would do it, but I don't normally.
I mean, I asked. My wife grew up hunting with her dad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, and it's funny because we talk about this all the time. My parents didn't do any of this stuff. I never saw my grandmother. Like, you always see the things like, oh, we're going to go back to your grandmother's time. And it's like, my grandma never did any of this stuff.
Right.
Like, absolutely. It's just kind of, my mom even says, my brother homesteads just up the road and does, canning and stuff like that. And she's like, I don't know how I got 2 kids that are into this. We just never did it.
Yeah, her brother's, 2.5 miles north of here? Yeah. We could hit him with FRS without a problem.
Okay.
So, I mean, he's close.
Why not?
Yeah. I mean,
so that actually answers one of my other questions. FRS.
Mm-hmm.
Active, use it?
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Girls and I use it all the time.
Okay.
I can sit down in the basement, play on the ham radio set, and they're on FRS, and we let them go down to the pond or go play outside or goof around on the ATVs.
Because I'm going to get a GMRS license. Mm-hmm. Because we had a storm that came through, and I'll own up to it. I used a GMRS radio without a license. Guess what? It was an emergency. Mm-hmm. I don't care.
Well, the tests say.
Yeah.
I use it.
It was an emergency. I didn't care. We didn't have power. So for us to be able to communicate with our good neighbors that also, have the property next door, I have a pair of GMRS radios that I was like, hey, here, keep it charged. And we have a solar panel to keep it charged.
Right.
Keep it charged, and if you need us, press the button, and if we need you, press the button. So I was wondering if you guys had that, within your usage case.
We both we do have a GMRS license. That was the first thing we got.
Okay.
We also have FRS radios. I do not have an FRS GMRS base station.
Okay.
At this point, it's only ham radio.
But you can talk to your brother-in-law, your brother, FRS,
Yep.
a few miles down the road.
Yep.
I think, for the usage case, that's all you need.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's... We sit up a little bit higher than he does, so line of sight is better. I don't know if you would get it on the other side, like west side of town, because we're a little bit higher, but we have a ridge that drops.
Okay.
So I don't know if that would work as good, but definitely up to his place. He sits, 50, 60 feet lower than us. So...
If you had to change one thing about your setup, you each get one thing, just because I'm sure you both have different perspectives. Yeah. Aaron, if you had to change one thing about your setup, what would it be?
Like the property?
Yeah, your entire setup. Pick one thing that you would like. I would want X.
Well, I'd want the black walnut tree gone.
Mm-hmm.
So the black walnut tree.
Yes.
How come?
Well, you can't plant under the canopy. That's why our gardens are all at that line. If that tree wasn't there, the whole backyard would be a garden.
Okay. So you don't harvest the black walnuts?
We haven't. I think it's just every year life just happens. It only gets walnuts every other year. So this is a non-walnut year. But yeah, every year that it comes, it's like, oh, we're going to try it. My kids want to make ink, out of the... And we just haven't.
Okay.
Yeah.
It makes me nervous, because it's like, I remember when we first moved in, it's like, oh, shoot, I love walnuts. I'll use this. And I started watching YouTube videos, and some of them made it sound like you could get sick, eating them, and some said you couldn't. So I was like, well, I don't know.
Okay.
Now, for me, I'd want a little bit more land. But
so you don't get to
right.
You get to change something about your setup.
Right. So our setup, my type 1 error that I've said every single time, and you're laughing at me, Aaron, because you know exactly what it is. It's where we put the chicken coop.
Okay.
The chicken coop is in the wettest spot of the yard.
Okay. Then why haven't you moved it?
Because I don't want to break it. And it's already got... So it's dug down. All the wire going around it is dug down into the ground, so nothing can tunnel up underneath the coop and get in. That would be quite a bit of work.
Oh yeah.
We actually fixed the issue with rubber mats. So there's horse stall mats in the bottom of the coop, and then it's all lined with hay.
Okay.
Hay and straw, to raise it above. But my type 1 error was definitely putting that coop where it sits right now.
It's like I didn't ask Erin why she wouldn't change that, because I understand that taking down a black walnut tree is a lot of work.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a professional do it, it's a lot of expense. So
for black walnut, not necessarily. You could get somebody to probably pay you for that.
If the tree's big enough. Yeah.
Yeah. That tree is 95 feet tall.
And you can probably get paid for that.
Probably 3 feet round, 4 feet round at the bottom. So it'd be a hefty chunk.
But the syrup we get from it, is delicious.
Well, see, there you go, right?
Yes.
So
it does have its uses. The maple syrup and the black walnut syrup together.
Yeah, it's very good.
When we don't screw up and leave it in the garage too long and it molds, is delicious.
Next year we'll do better.
Next year we have to be on top of it a little bit better.
Cool.
So how about you? Anything you'd change on your setup?
Yeah, I'd get rid of half my neighbors. I don't want their property. I mean, I'll take it, but I like
the space.
It's
Yeah.
I went from living where my nearest neighbor was almost a mile away to living where my nearest neighbor is. Hey, how you doing?
Yeah. And that's how we are. We're 40 feet from our neighbors, so.
And I very much enjoy solitude. I you know, it's gonna. You may have to cut it out if it doesn't fit your format.
Whatever goes, it's all free game here.
At my old place, I didn't think twice about just walking out the back door butt naked.
Yeah.
Didn't care.
Yeah.
At my new place, can't do that.
No.
No, I'm gonna have a bunch of old ladies beating down the door for me, and I'm like, no, ain't happening.
Well, you see that meme going around lately. If you can't piss off your front porch, you're too close to your neighbors.
Yes, that is absolutely true. I'm way too close to my neighbors. But like I said, I live next door to some really great friends.
Yeah.
The rest of the neighborhood, I could just do without.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't afford that.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've talked about it in the past. We have one neighbor that's an utter pain in the ass, blue-haired Karen, and then we have the neighbor to the east of us, which is amazing, and we constantly are trading with him and helping him. He's the one where we have the deer stand. We have a garden over there that he gets to use that we tend. We fish out of his pond and pull food out of there. And he gets rabbit pot pies and random other stuff throughout the year.
Elderberry syrup.
Elderberry syrup, yeah.
From his elderberries.
Yep. So,
From his elderberries. Yeah.
from his elderberries on his property that we go for.
That he would otherwise not be using.
Exactly.
Because he doesn't know what an elderberry is.
Okay. Let's get controversial here.
Sure.
I come Jesu Kenwood.
Oh, God. You're going to throw that one in there. All right. I'm going to go Icon Base Station. Yaesu Portable for an FT891 for POTA.
Okay.
And then HT UV5R.
Okay.
Because I'm a cheapskate and I'll break the damn thing.
Well, that's all right. People love to hate on the Fang, but the Fang is the gateway drug of ham radio, and the Fang has brought more people into ham radio than any of the other brands.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're good. I'm just saying they're adequate. Right?
Yeah.
I already know the answer to that one, so I'm not going to even ask it. I was going to ask, whiskey or rum, but I already know it's whiskey.
Bourbon. Bourbon for sure, and it's got to be... It doesn't have to be expensive bourbon, just oddball bourbon.
Okay.
I don't like the big names. I want to try the smaller people.
Erin's over there enjoying her peanut butter cup. I had a taste. It's tasty. A little sweeter than my palate calls for, but it's still tasty. I want to have a smart question for Erin, but I don't know where to go with that.
I think anything's fair game. Right? Anything fair game?
If not, I'll edit it out.
There you go. By the way, he didn't put me up to this.
No, I did not. So
Skydive?
Maybe.
If you guys could see her face is looking to say, how do I say no and not be on the hook?
It's definitely something I would want to experience. It's just a little scary.
yeah.
Oh yeah. It should be.
It should be, I know.
Well, I will say, if she goes out the door of a plane, I will do it.
Perfect. So
And
you just have to convince her.
And I can tell you, I probably will not fall in love with it because I have enough expensive hobbies right now.
You can always have more.
Yeah.
You shoot some, right?
What's that?
You shoot some?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
5.56 or 7.62?
5.56.
That's not the question. The question's not for you. It's for her.
My 380.
There you go.
Yeah, she's got a 380.
Cool.
I do enjoy shooting. I don't know usually what I'm talking about.
Okay, that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
I shoot whatever he gives me.
Yep. 22, 380, 9mm, 5.56.
All of the above.
Yep.
I did like the
new 22,
yeah,
the bolt action.
yeah. But no, I liked your what's the, see, this is why I don't talk guns. But like, what's the one that nobody wants anybody to have?
The AR.
The AR, yeah.
Yeah, 5.56.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All right. So that's what I love.
Yeah. you love that gun.
I do.
It's a great platform. Yeah.
Exactly. And it fits 30 rounds, and it's always loaded, and
As it should be.
Yeah.
I mean, an unloaded gun is worthless than it's worth than a hammer,
yep, exactly.
right? A hammer actually has a purpose.
Yep. Yeah, we both have our concealed carry cards. So.
Good for you, especially in the state you live in. This is
Yeah, I mean, I work east of 47, so
Okay.
I'm up in Addison area is where I work.
okay.
Is that Cook County or no?
No, it's not Cook. It's still DuPage, but we are 5 minutes from Cook. But I still drive along 88 and 355, and if you hear anything on the news, there's a lot of shootings on the highways. So,
Today I learned, because I don't keep up with Illinois news. It's just depressive.
yeah,
it's-
there's a lot on 294 and 290.
Oh wow.
There's been a few on 88 as you get closer into the city.
All the more reason for me to stay out of the city.
Yeah, I mean, for you, Indiana, you're going.
Just 294.
Yeah,
It's as close to the city as I get. I don't want to be in the city if I don't have to be. I'll say that there's a very large Puerto Rican population in Chicago, in Humboldt Park.
yeah,
And when I want to eat Puerto Rican food and I don't want to fly to Puerto Rico, I'll divert into Humboldt Park.
which makes sense.
And I know that I'm taking a chance, right? Just like it's no different than taking a chance skydiving.
Mm-hmm.
Skydiving is a little bit more measured, right? I
Yeah.
have control over it. I don't have control over the people in Chicago downtown.
Yeah,
So cool.
yeah.
My brain can't come up with any other good questions, so I.
All right. So for you, ICOM, Yaesu, Kenwood.
Oh man, that's a tough one. I loved my Kenwood base,
Okay.
and the storm took it out
Okay.
with the Nebula. I can't replace it.
It's a TS.
440 AT,
Ooh, yeah. Okay.
right? I'm gonna see if I can repair it. I'm gonna try. Worst case scenario, I can't, right? But it's not putting any power out. It sounds amazing. I've had Yaesu radios and I've had ICOM radios, and I think they're on par with each other.
Yeah.
Just for different things, right? Like in different scenarios. But I ended up I have an 891 and a 991A, and I just picked up a 7300,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm literally running side by side tests on it to see which one is better.
Yeah.
And I have yet to find a compelling reason to say that one is better than the other. They are better than one is better than the other in one thing, and the other is better than the one in another thing, and they just kind of go back and forth. So it's a difficult choice to make. So I'm gonna go with Alinco.
All right.
I don't have an Alinco radio, but it just gets me out of the sauce.
There you go. Nothing wrong with that.
No, seriously, the three companies make great radios,
Yeah.
and like I said, I own a base out of the three, and two of them work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that the Kenwood sounds the best. Excuse me. the reports that I got back for me on the Kenwood were always fantastic.
Okay.
And I was just using the hand mic. I wasn't using anything special.
Yeah, that's all I use too. So.
Out of the Yaesu and the ICOM, I get better sound reports out of the Yaesu, but I get better FT8 performance out of the ICOM.
Okay.
And since I'm not going to keep both, because I want to have a base station. I don't want to have multiples. I don't have a use for multiples.
Right.
I mean, if I had, I suppose if I got some good bandpass filters, I would. Maybe I just need to buy some bandpass filters.
Yeah.
That way I can, run one on 40, run one on 20, and not have them crash into each other.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I can throw out there and really throw a wrench in things, an all mode, all band receiver or individual receiver for each band.
Oh. All mode, all band. Because I am, while I would be giving up sensitivity, I am all about the fewest amount of crap in my house as I can manage.
That makes sense. Now, I'm the exact opposite, where I want HF and UHF, VHF separate.
Yeah.
So if one goes down, then I have another one. If I send that out, I still have my UHF and VHF or HF.
That's what I have my mobile for.
Yeah.
Right?
True.
So, worst case scenario, I can pull the mobile out of the car and put it in the shack.
Yeah.
But I actively try to simplify my life.
That makes sense.
And by minimizing the amount of things I have, I don't have much choice about it. I have to simplify it. It's not for everybody.
No.
But, I'm actually pulling the trigger on a 705 soon. Don't tell my wife.
There you go.
It may or may not have already happened.
Nice. That'll be fun.
I'm going to take a Parachute Mobile.
That'll work.
It'll be interesting to see what a proper QRP radio will do at altitude. Again, we go back to the theory thing.
Mm-hmm.
In theory, a proper built QRP radio at altitude should behave as good as a QRO radio.
Oh yeah.
Because there's less noise in the system and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I've never done that. I've turned down the power on my 706 Mark IIG.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a purpose-built QRP radio, so
right.
I still have the noise generation portion of the system in line, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm looking forward to testing and seeing what the differences are up high.
Okay.
It may turn out that a QRO is the way to go, and it may turn out that QRP is perfectly acceptable.
Yeah. I would imagine QRP would be perfectly acceptable because lower noise floor equals
better output, right?
Right.
And I got the tallest antenna in the Midwest, 15 minutes at a time.
Yeah, I mean, no bullshit. You are dead on. Reality, your 2 meter contact, what's your farthest?
Farthest confirmed, 209 miles, I think. 209, 219 miles, something like that. I have to double check. It's in that ballpark.
That's nothing to shake a stick at.
I want 300 because I have APRS on 300.
Okay.
I had 305 miles on APRS.
Okay.
On a direct line APRS, right? It's not relayed.
Nice.
So, if it can be done in APRS, it can be done in voice.
Absolutely. So, what's your farthest HF parachute on HF?
Confirmed Panama.
That's no joke right there.
Right,
That's good.
But the thing is, we can talk to Panama from the ground.
Right, absolutely.
The HF jumps serve the purpose of expanding my reach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mainly rare contact. Let's hunt this guy down. Right.
Right.
It's just the technical side of it is, I think, better served with VHF. Mm-hmm. Because VHF lets me push the edges of how far can I go from a practical standpoint, right?
Right. And every ham can jump in on that. So technicians get UHF and VHF, but they don't get it, or they don't get all of HF.
No, and that's the reason for the 10-meter jumps, right?
Right.
The 10-meter jumps are great for trying to get techs on the air. Erin got her first HF contact that way, right? I don't know. I haven't gotten any information about anyone else getting their first HF contact that way, but I did, not HF, BHF, a lady at the Huntsville Hamfest. I don't know if you saw the video that I posted this past week.
Yeah, I think I saw it.
She got her license in the morning.
Yes, okay.
Tech and general back to back. Somehow managed to get her call sign by midday.
Nowadays, get her call sign by midday? Wow.
On a Saturday.
Wow. That's impressive.
Right? And then she held off until I jumped. I didn't know this, right? I didn't go into the jump knowing this. Call CQ Parachute Mobile, and she's the first one to respond. And 8YO keys up while she was keying up after the fact, saying, "Oh, by the way, you're my very first contact ever." Oh my God, that is cool.
Yeah.
Like, that is, to me, on the receiving end, that is so cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't. I remember not mentioning, because we're letting other people on the 10-meter jump get in, that you were Aaron's agent.
Because I think I talked to you on the YouTube on that video or something.
In the comments or on Discord or whatever. So, because I know we didn't come out right away, because it's always been my thought process: let people make the contacts and don't get in the way.
Yeah, but it's still neat to know, man. From my perspective, it's neat to know that I just made someone expand a little. Right.
And that's why we brought it up as soon as we saw the video come up, we put it in the contacts or the comments or on Discord. I don't remember exactly when it was.
I brought a bunch of QSL carts with me to Huntsville, and I went back to the pavilion that night, and I signed, filled them out, signed them out to a number of people, and I realized that I was, Pink hadn't made it.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let her and her boyfriend into the park. Because you have to be staying at the park in order to get into the park after hours.
Okay.
And the other people had already been there.
Yeah. And
I realized she's not gonna make it. So I saved one QSL card for the next morning at the YouTubers forum. Mm-hmm. They came to the forum and got her a card. It was a point of, I'm saving one card for her. Yeah. I was staying with Ranting Raven, and Ranting Raven's like, "Where's my card?" I'm like, "Well, I'll get you a card." She goes, "You're gonna have to mail it to me. I want a postcard. I want a postmark on my card." I'm like, "Okay, that's fine. That's fair." So
cool.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we should probably start wrapping this up.
We can talk the rest of the night. I don't care.
We very well could. I mean, it is currently about midnight right now.
Is it seriously that late?
Yes, it is.
Oh crap! I gotta get some sleep.
It is currently about midnight, and we are gonna wrap this up. So, Carlos, huge thank you for coming out.
Thanks for the invite. Thanks for the food and the drink and hanging out. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, I mean, this has been like a 3-hour sit down and shoot the shit. An hour before we got started, here we go. We're 2 hours on a podcast. I mean, it's been a fun night.
Has it really been over? Because I know the first part got cut off. I didn't realize.
The first part was like an hour and 10 minutes, and now we're at 50 minutes.
Oh, good God. I'm sorry.
No.
So,
your edit's going to suck.
It's all right. But I appreciate you coming out.
Thanks for the invite.
I know it's a long drive for you to get up to our area. It's a ton of work during the day, and then to swing over here for a couple hours. We greatly appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate you guys. Yeah, you guys are some of the folks that make a point out of to hunt me on a regular basis, and I enjoy that. Right?
Yeah.
It's nice to have contacts that you can make, and you came out to the drop zone. I didn't expect that, so I'm glad that you guys came out. If anyone else is listening to this and can make it to the drop zone, please by all means come by. And even if I'm not there, just spectate. It's fun to watch.
I mean, our adrenaline was rushing just watching, like everyone else's adrenaline rushing.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun to watch you guys jump. And after you taught me how to look for the parachutes, as they come out of as the jumpers as they come out of the plane, and the tandems, and it was nice to go throughout the day and look up and go, okay, there's somebody, there's a single, there's a tandem, there's another single. It's really cool to see. And then you can watch the ADSB, and then you realize when they're starting to jump because the plane slows way down.
Yeah.
It's nice to have the chit chat, and we greatly appreciate it.
Thanks for the invite, guys.
So,
All
right. We'll catch you guys next time.
All right. See you on the homestead, where something is always growing, eating, or cooking.